In a bustling city known for its vibrant food scene, there was a popular restaurant called Bella Vita. The place had gained fame not just for its delicious Italian cuisine, but also for its trendy ambiance and celebrity clientele. People from all walks of life visited Bella Vita to enjoy its signature dishes like wood-fired pizzas and creamy pasta. However, behind the polished exterior lay a dark side that no one expected to surface, until it did. One sunny afternoon, Maya Thompson decided to treat herself to lunch at Bella Vita. Maya was a successful businesswoman in her early 30s, who worked tirelessly running her tech startup, Technova Solutions. Her company was revolutionizing artificial intelligence systems, and her clients included some of the biggest names in the corporate world. Despite her busy schedule, Maya always made time for self-care, and today she chose Bella Vita as her escape from the stress of work. Dressed casually yet elegantly in a simple blouse and jeans, Maya walked into the restaurant with a warm smile. She was greeted by the aroma of freshly baked bread and the sound of soft jazz playing in the background. It seemed like the perfect place to unwind. But as soon as she entered, something felt off. The hostess at the front desk avoided eye contact, hesitating before finally acknowledging her presence. "Hi, I'd like a table for one, please," Maya said politely, her voice calm and friendly. The hostess nodded but didn't smile. Instead of leading Maya to one of the cozy booths near the window, or the spacious tables in the center of the room, she guided her toward a small, isolated table near the kitchen. This spot was far from ideal. It was cramped, noisy, and clearly less desirable than the other seats. Maya frowned slightly but told herself it might have been an honest mistake. After all, the restaurant was busy, and perhaps this was the only available table. She sat down and picked up the menu, trying to focus on the positives. A waiter approached her table moments later, but his demeanor was anything but welcoming. He barely glanced at her while taking her order, his tone clipped and dismissive. "Are you ready to order?" he asked abruptly, pen poised over his notepad. Maya hesitated for a moment, then pointed to a dish on the menu. "I'll have the seafood risotto, but could you hold the mushrooms? I'm allergic," she explained kindly. The waiter sighed audibly, rolling his eyes as if her request was unreasonable. "This isn't a custom order place," he muttered under his breath before walking away without another word. Maya felt a knot form in her stomach. Was she imagining things, or was she being treated differently? She glanced around the room and noticed that other customers, mostly white and well-dressed, were receiving attentive service. Their waiters smiled, engaged in light conversation, and accommodated special requests without complaint. Her unease grew when another staff member approached her table. "Excuse me, ma'am," the man said curtly, "but we need you to move to a different seat. Someone more important will be arriving soon." Maya stared at him in disbelief. "More important?" she repeated, her voice steady despite the anger bubbling inside her. "What does that mean?" The man shrugged, avoiding her gaze. "It's just how it is. You can take your things and sit over there." He gestured vaguely toward a corner of the room where a rickety table stood unused. Humiliated and frustrated, Maya refused to budge immediately. She demanded to speak to the manager, hoping someone would address the blatant disrespect she was facing. When the manager arrived, he was visibly irritated. Rather than apologizing or investigating the issue, he accused Maya of causing a disturbance. "If you're not happy here, you're welcome to leave," he said coldly, crossing his arms. His words stung, but Maya refused to let them break her spirit. With quiet dignity, she gathered her belongings and walked out of the restaurant, vowing never to return. As she stepped onto the busy street outside, Maya felt a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, and disbelief. She couldn't understand why she had been singled out. Was it because of her skin color, her casual attire, or simply because the staff assumed she wasn't important enough to deserve respect? Whatever the reason, she knew this wasn't just about one bad experience at a restaurant. It was part of a larger pattern of discrimination that Black people faced daily in various spaces. Determined to process her feelings, Maya went home and opened her laptop. She logged into her social media accounts and began typing. In a detailed post, She recounted everything that had happened at Bella Vita: the poor seating arrangement, the rude waiter, the insulting demand to move, and the manager's dismissive attitude. She ended her post with a powerful message. No. One deserves to be treated this way regardless of who they are. Discrimination has no place in our society. Within minutes, her post gained traction. Friends, followers, and even strangers flooded the comment section with messages of support. Many shared similar stories of being mistreated at restaurants, stores, and other public places. Others expressed outrage at Bella Vita's behavior, calling for accountability. Before long, the hashtag #JusticeForMaya started trending online, drawing attention from local news outlets and influencers. Back at Bella Vita, panic began to set in. The owner, Marco Rossi, received frantic calls from his PR team warning him of the growing backlash. Reservations for the upcoming week plummeted as people vowed to boycott the restaurant. Celebrities who frequented Bella Vita distanced themselves, publicly posting statements condemning discrimination. Influencers urged their followers to support inclusive businesses instead. What had once been a thriving establishment now faced the threat of ruin. Marco scrambled to contain the damage. He issued a generic apology through a press release, claiming the incident was a misunderstanding. "We regret any inconvenience caused to Ms. Thompson and assure our patrons that such occurrences are rare," the statement read. But the public wasn't convinced. Critics argued that the apology lacked sincerity and failed to address the root cause of the problem. Meanwhile, Maya continued to receive overwhelming support. Messages poured in from people thanking her for speaking out and encouraging her to take further action. Some suggested filing a formal complaint, while others urged her to sue the restaurant for discrimination. Though tempted, Maya hesitated. She wanted justice, but she also believed in giving people a chance to learn and grow. For now, she decided to let public pressure do its work. As days passed, the controversy surrounding Bella Vita intensified. Journalists reached out to Maya for interviews, eager to hear her side of the story. While she declined most requests, she agreed to speak briefly with a trusted journalist known for advocating social justice causes. During the interview, Maya emphasized the importance of holding businesses accountable for discriminatory practices. "This isn't just about me," she said. "It's about creating a world where everyone feels valued and respected, regardless of their race, gender, or background." Her words resonated deeply, sparking conversations about systemic racism and inequality in everyday spaces. People began to reflect on their own experiences and question whether they had unknowingly contributed to similar injustices. For Maya, the incident served as a painful reminder of the challenges Black individuals face daily, but also as motivation to keep fighting for change. Little did anyone know, the story was far from over. Behind the scenes, Marco Rossi realized he needed to act quickly if he wanted to save his restaurant. Desperate to make amends, he reached out to Maya through mutual connections, hoping to arrange a private meeting. Though skeptical, Maya agreed, curious to see what Marco had to say, and whether he truly understood the gravity of his mistakes. The private meeting between Maya Thompson and Marco Rossi took place at a quiet cafe downtown, far removed from the glitz and glamour of Bella Vita. The atmosphere was calm, with soft lighting and the gentle hum of conversations filling the air. Maya arrived first, dressed in a sleek blazer and jeans, her expression unreadable. She carried herself with the same quiet confidence that had defined her throughout the ordeal, but inside she was filled with conflicting emotions: curiosity, skepticism, and a flicker of hope. Marco arrived 10 minutes later, looking visibly nervous. He wore a tailored suit, but his usual air of authority seemed to have evaporated under the weight of recent events. As he approached the table, he extended his hand hesitantly. "Ms. Thompson," he began, his voice tinged with both respect and unease. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." Maya shook his hand firmly but didn't smile. "Mr. Rossi," she replied coolly, "let's get straight to the point. What do you want?" Marco sighed deeply, pulling out a chair and sitting across from her. For a moment, he struggled to find the right words. Finally, he spoke. "I want to apologize, not just as the owner of Bella Vita, but as someone who failed to uphold basic human decency, I'm truly sorry for what happened to you. If I had known about the discriminatory behavior in my restaurant, I would have stopped it immediately. Maya listened intently, her sharp eyes studying him closely. She could sense his sincerity, but she wasn't ready to let him off the hook just yet. "You're saying you didn't know?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "How is that possible? You're the owner. Don't you oversee your staff and ensure they treat every customer fairly?" Marco shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "You're absolutely right. I should have been more involved. But the truth is, I've been so focused on expanding the business and maintaining its reputation that I neglected to pay attention to the day-to-day operations. That's no excuse, though. It's my responsibility to set the tone for how people are treated in my establishment." Maya nodded slowly, her mind racing. While his explanation made some sense, it didn't erase the pain and humiliation she had endured. Still, she appreciated his willingness to take accountability, at least partially. "An apology is a start," she said evenly. "But words alone won't fix this. People need to see real change if they're going to trust your restaurant again." Marco leaned forward, his expression earnest. "That's why I'm here, to make things right. I've already begun implementing new policies, including mandatory diversity training for all employees. I've also fired the staff members directly involved in your mistreatment. But I know that's not enough. I want to go further. I want to turn this negative experience into something positive, for you, for my business, and for the community." Paused, then added, "I've heard about your work with Technova Solutions and the incredible impact you've made in the tech industry. I'd like to propose a partnership. Together, we could launch an initiative aimed at promoting inclusivity and equity in businesses. Your expertise combined with our platform could create meaningful change." Maya was taken aback by the offer. She hadn't expected Marco to suggest such a bold step. On one hand, partnering with Bella Vita felt like giving them a pass after everything that had happened. On the other hand, it presented a unique opportunity to address systemic issues on a larger scale. After a long pause, she responded carefully. "I'll consider your proposal," she said. "But understand this. If we move forward, it has to be done my way. No shortcuts, no empty promises. This can't just be a PR stunt to save your image. It needs to be genuine, impactful, and long-lasting." Marco nodded vigorously. "Of course, I wouldn't expect anything less. I'll provide whatever resources and support you need to make this successful. Just tell me what you envision, and we'll make it happen." With that, their initial meeting concluded. Maya left the cafe feeling cautiously optimistic. While she still harbored doubts about Marco's intentions, she couldn't deny the potential of his idea. If executed properly, the partnership could serve as a powerful example of how businesses could confront their flaws and emerge stronger. Over the next few weeks, Maya and Marco worked together to design the initiative, which they named Open Doors. The program aimed to educate restaurants, retail stores, and other service-oriented businesses about unconscious bias, equitable treatment, and the importance of creating inclusive environments for customers and employees alike. They planned workshops, panel discussions, and training sessions led by experts in diversity and inclusion. News of the collaboration spread quickly, drawing mixed reactions. Some praised Maya for her ability to rise above the situation and channel her energy into something constructive. Others criticized her decision to work with Bella Vita, arguing that it undermined the severity of the discrimination she faced. Despite the backlash, Maya remained steadfast in her belief that progress required action, not just criticism. Meanwhile, Bella Vita underwent significant changes internally. New hiring practices were introduced to ensure a diverse workforce, and regular check-ins were established to monitor employee conduct. Customers noticed the shift almost immediately. Waitstaff became friendlier and more attentive, and seating arrangements were handled fairly without bias. Slowly but surely, the restaurant began rebuilding its reputation. As the launch date for Open Doors approached, anticipation grew. Local media outlets covered the story extensively, highlighting Maya's role as a driving force behind the initiative. Her interviews resonated with audiences, particularly when she emphasized the importance of holding institutions accountable while also offering opportunities for redemption. Change doesn't happen overnight, she often said. But it starts with acknowledging mistakes and taking concrete steps toward improvement. On the day of the launch event, Bella Vita transformed into a hub of activity. The restaurant hosted a grand celebration attended by community leaders, activists, journalists, and supporters of the cause. A large banner outside read, "Welcome to Open Doors, building a better future together." Inside, guests mingled over hors d'oeuvres and speeches, discussing ways to implement inclusivity in their own organizations. When it was time for Maya to speak, the room fell silent. Standing at the podium, she looked out at the crowd with a mix of pride and determination. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter, not just for Bella Vita, but for all of us," she began. "It's easy to point fingers and assign blame when things go wrong. But true growth happens when we choose to learn from our mistakes and work together to create solutions." Her voice softened as she continued. "I won't pretend that forgiving isn't hard. Trusting again is even harder. But I believe in the power of second chances, for individuals and institutions alike. Through initiatives like Open Doors, we can challenge outdated mindsets and build spaces where everyone feels valued and respected." The audience erupted into applause, moved by her words. Many attendees approached her afterward to express gratitude, sharing stories of their own struggles with discrimination. For Maya, these interactions reinforced her commitment to the cause. She realized that her journey wasn't just about seeking justice for herself, it was about paving the way for others who might face similar challenges. Back at Technova Solutions, Maya's team rallied around her, inspired by her leadership and resilience. They supported her efforts wholeheartedly, integrating lessons from Open Doors into their company culture. Employees participated in workshops, and managers implemented policies to foster inclusivity within the workplace. Under Maya's guidance, Technova became a shining example of how businesses could prioritize social responsibility alongside innovation. For Marco, the transformation was equally profound. The scandal had forced him to confront uncomfortable truths about himself and his business. He learned valuable lessons about humility, empathy, and the importance of leading by example. Though rebuilding trust would take time, he was committed to ensuring that Bella Vita never repeated its past mistakes. By the end of the month, Open Doors had gained momentum beyond anyone's expectations. Restaurants across the city signed up for workshops, eager to adopt inclusive practices. Social media buzzed with stories of businesses making positive changes, inspired by Maya's vision. Even competitors acknowledged the program's impact, recognizing that inclusivity wasn't just a moral imperative, it was good for business too. As Maya reflected on the whirlwind of events, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. What had started as a painful encounter at a discriminatory restaurant had evolved into a movement for meaningful change. She knew there was still much work to be done, but for now, she allowed herself a moment of pride. Against all odds, she had turned adversity into opportunity and proved that even the darkest moments could lead to brighter futures. The success of the Open Doors initiative marked a turning point not only for Bella Vita, but also for Maya Thompson. The program quickly became a beacon of hope and progress, drawing attention from across the country. News outlets featured stories about how one woman's courage had sparked a movement that was reshaping entire industries. People began to see Maya not just as a victim of discrimination, but as a leader, a visionary who refused to let injustice define her. As the weeks turned into months, Maya threw herself into expanding Open Doors. She traveled to different cities, speaking at conferences, hosting workshops, and meeting with business owners eager to learn from her experiences. Her message was simple yet powerful. Inclusivity isn't just a moral obligation. It's an essential ingredient for success in today's diverse world. Businesses that embraced equity didn't just avoid scandals. They thrived by building trust and loyalty among their customers. One of Maya's most memorable trips took her to Chicago, where she addressed a packed auditorium of entrepreneurs, restaurateurs, and community leaders. Dressed in a bold red dress that commanded attention, she stood on stage with confidence. "Discrimination doesn't always come from hate," she began, her voice steady and clear. Sometimes it comes from ignorance, from failing to recognize the humanity in others. And sometimes it comes from systems so deeply ingrained that we don't even realize they exist. She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. But here's the good news. Ignorance can be unlearned, and systems can be changed. It starts with awareness. It grows through action, and it succeeds when we hold each other accountable, not out of punishment but out of love for our shared future. Her speech earned a standing ovation, leaving many in tears. Afterward, dozens of attendees lined up to speak with her personally. Some thanked her for her bravery, while others shared their own struggles with bias in their workplaces. One young woman, a cafe owner from Detroit, approached Maya with a nervous smile. "I want to make my space welcoming for everyone," she said, "but I don't know where to start." Maya placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Start small," she advised. "Train your staff to treat every customer like family. Make sure your hiring process is fair. Listen to feedback and act on it. Change doesn't happen overnight, but every step counts." Back home, Maya continued to balance her work at Technova Solutions with her growing role as an advocate for racial equality. Her team admired her ability to juggle both responsibilities without losing sight of her values. Under her leadership, Technova implemented groundbreaking AI tools designed to detect and address biases in hiring processes. These innovations caught the eye of major corporations, leading to lucrative partnerships and further cementing Maya's reputation as a trailblazer. Meanwhile, Bella Vita flourished under its new ethos of inclusivity. Marco Rossi worked tirelessly to ensure the changes stuck, often consulting with Maya to stay aligned with her vision. He hired a diverse management team and introduced monthly meetings where employees could voice concerns or suggest improvements. Customers noticed the shift immediately. Service improved, smiles became genuine, and the overall atmosphere felt warmer and more inviting. To celebrate 6 months since the launch of Open Doors, Bella Vita hosted another event, this time open to the public. Local artists performed, chefs offered samples of signature dishes, and informational booths showcased resources for inclusive practices. At the center of it all was a large mural painted by a Black artist, depicting hands of various skin tones reaching toward each other against a backdrop of vibrant colors. A plaque beneath it read, "Dedicated to Maya Thompson, for inspiring us to open our doors wider." During the event, Marco took the stage to express his gratitude. "When I first met Maya, I thought I was asking for forgiveness," he admitted, his voice trembling with emotion. "But what she gave me was something far greater, a chance to do better. Thanks to her guidance, Bella Vita has become more than just a restaurant. It's a symbol of growth, redemption, and the power of second chances." When it was Maya's turn to speak, she received a thunderous applause. Smiling warmly, she began by acknowledging the progress everyone had made. "6 months ago we were strangers brought together by pain and misunderstanding. Today we stand united by purpose and possibility. This journey hasn't been easy, but it's proof that change is possible when we commit to it." She went on to share anecdotes from her travels, highlighting the ripple effect of Open Doors. In New York, a hotel chain revamped its policies after attending one of her workshops. In Los Angeles, a tech startup redesigned its app to include accessibility features for people with disabilities. Each story reinforced her belief that small actions could lead to big transformations. However, Maya didn't shy away from addressing the challenges ahead. "Let's be honest, this fight isn't over," she said firmly. "There will always be resistance, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But remember this, every time someone chooses kindness over prejudice, every time a business prioritizes equity over convenience, we move closer to a world where no one feels excluded because of who they are." Her closing remarks resonated deeply with the audience. Many left the event feeling inspired to take action in their own lives. For some, it meant having difficult conversations with friends or colleagues. For others, it meant reevaluating workplace policies or supporting minority-owned businesses. Whatever the steps, Maya's message encouraged them to keep moving forward. In the days following the event, media coverage of Open Doors reached new heights. National magazines published feature articles on Maya, dubbing her the CEO who changed the game. Social media buzzed with hashtags like #Open Doors Movement and Inclusivity Matters, amplifying the conversation beyond local communities. Even politicians cited her work as an example of how grassroots efforts could drive societal change. Despite the accolades, Maya remained grounded. She knew that fame and recognition weren't the goals. They were byproducts of staying true to her mission. What mattered most to her was the impact she saw on the ground. Businesses becoming more inclusive, marginalized voices being heard, and individuals finding the courage to challenge discriminatory practices. One evening, as Maya sat in her office reflecting on everything that had transpired, her phone buzzed with a notification. It was an email from a high school student named Jamal, who wrote to thank her for inspiring him to pursue entrepreneurship despite facing racism in his community. "Reading your story made me realize that I can use my talents to create change," Jamal wrote. "Someday I hope to be like you, a force for good in the world." Tears welled up in Maya's eyes as she read the message. Moments like these reminded her why she kept pushing forward, even when the road seemed impossible. Every challenge she faced, every obstacle she overcame, had led her to this moment, to a place where she could inspire others to dream bigger and fight harder. As the year drew to a close, Maya looked back on her journey with a mix of pride and humility. From the painful incident at Bella Vita to the birth of Open Doors, she had transformed adversity into opportunity. Along the way, she had learned invaluable lessons about resilience, forgiveness, and the power of collective effort. Most importantly, she had proven that no matter how dark things seemed, light could always find a way through. Little did she know, the best was yet to come. Across the globe, organizations were beginning to reach out, eager to adapt Open Doors for their own regions. From Europe to Asia, people were hungry for solutions to combat discrimination and promote inclusivity. For Maya, this signaled the beginning of a new chapter, one where her influence would extend far beyond her hometown and touch lives around the world. With renewed determination, Maya prepared to take Open Doors international. She assembled a team of experts, secured funding from supportive investors, and mapped out strategies for expansion. Though daunting, the prospect excited her. After all, she had already shown the world what was possible. Now, it was time to show them just how far they could go together. As Maya Thompson prepared to take Open Doors international, the scope of her vision grew exponentially. What had started as a local initiative in response to a deeply personal experience was now poised to become a global movement. The idea of expanding beyond borders filled her with both excitement and trepidation. She knew that addressing discrimination on such a massive scale would require careful planning, cultural sensitivity, and unwavering dedication. To kick things off, Maya assembled a diverse team of experts from around the world. This group included sociologists, business consultants, educators, and activists, all united by a shared commitment to promoting inclusivity. Together, they began designing programs tailored to different regions, taking into account unique cultural nuances and societal challenges. For example, while racial bias was a significant issue in some countries, gender inequality or caste-based discrimination dominated others. By customizing their approach, Open Doors aimed to address these specific concerns effectively. The first stop on their global journey was London, a city known for its rich diversity but also plagued by systemic racism in various sectors. Here, Maya partnered with local organizations to host a series of workshops targeting hospitality businesses. Many restaurant owners admitted struggling to create inclusive environments despite their best intentions. Through interactive sessions, Maya and her team taught them practical strategies, like using blind recruitment processes and implementing zero-tolerance policies for discriminatory behavior. One participant, a young restaurateur named Priya, approached Maya after a workshop with tears in her eyes. "I've always wanted my cafe to be a safe space for everyone," she confessed. "But I didn't know where to start. Your program has given me the tools I need to make real change." Stories like Priya's reinforced Maya's belief that education was key to breaking down barriers. From London, the Open Doors team traveled, to Mumbai, India, where they focused on combating caste-based discrimination in workplaces. Collaborating with grassroots activists, they organized seminars for small business owners and corporate leaders alike. One particularly impactful session involved role-playing exercises, where participants acted out scenarios involving prejudice. These activities helped attendees recognize unconscious biases and develop empathy for those affected by discrimination. During her time in Mumbai, Maya met a tech entrepreneur named Arjun, who had faced severe backlash for hiring employees from lower castes. Despite facing threats and boycotts, he refused to back down. Inspired by his resilience, Maya invited him to join Open Doors as an ambassador, amplifying his story to inspire others. "Change begins when we stand up for what's right," Arjun told a packed auditorium during one event. "And thanks to Maya and her team, we now have the resources to fight injustice together." Next, the team headed to Cape Town, South Africa, where apartheid's legacy still lingered in many institutions. Here, Open Doors worked closely with schools and universities to integrate anti-discrimination curricula into their programs. Students learned about privilege, allyship, and the importance of standing against injustice. Teachers reported noticeable shifts in classroom dynamics, with students becoming more vocal about fairness and equality. One high school principal shared how a student-led campaign emerged after attending an Open Doors workshop. The students created posters, held assemblies, and even convinced the school administration to review its disciplinary policies for potential biases. "These kids are our future," the principal said proudly. Thanks to Maya's initiative, they're learning to lead with compassion and courage. Back home, Bella Vita continued to thrive under its new leadership model. Marco Rossi frequently consulted with Maya, ensuring that the restaurant remained aligned with the principles of inclusivity. He introduced community outreach programs, offering free meals to underserved neighborhoods and hosting job fairs for marginalized groups. Employees took pride in working for a company that valued social responsibility, and customers appreciated the genuine warmth they experienced during every visit. Despite the success of Open Doors, Maya faced criticism along the way. Some argued that the program wasn't doing enough to tackle deep-rooted systemic issues. Others accused her of profiting from tragedy, pointing to the partnerships and sponsorships that funded the initiative. While these accusations stung, Maya refused to let them derail her mission. Instead, she addressed them head-on, emphasizing transparency and accountability at every step. In interviews, she spoke candidly about the challenges of balancing activism with entrepreneurship. "It's easy to get caught up in debates about motives or methods," she said. "But at the end of the day, what matters is impact. Are we making lives better? Are we creating opportunities for people who've been excluded? If the answer is yes, then we're on the right path." As Open Doors expanded, so did Maya's influence. She received invitations to speak at prestigious forums like the United Nations and the World Economic Forum, where she advocated for policies supporting equity and inclusion. Her speeches resonated with global leaders, many of whom pledged to adopt Open Doors practices within their own organizations. One particularly memorable moment came when Maya addressed the UN General Assembly. Standing before representatives from nearly 200 nations, she delivered a powerful speech calling for collective action against discrimination. "We live in a world where billions dream of equal opportunities, yet wake up to unequal realities," she declared. "It's time we bridge this gap. Not through charity, but through justice. Together we can build systems that uplift instead of oppress." Her words earned a standing ovation, cementing her status as a global icon for change. Social media erupted with praise, with hashtags like More Maya Aitun trending worldwide. People from all walks of life expressed gratitude for her tireless efforts, vowing to support the cause in their own communities. Meanwhile, Technova Solutions flourished under Maya's leadership. The company launched cutting-edge AI tools designed to detect bias in hiring, promotions, and customer service interactions. Major corporations adopted these technologies, further solidifying Maya's reputation as an innovator. Yet despite her professional achievements, Maya never lost sight of her original goal: to create a world where no one felt excluded because of who they were. By the end of the year, Open Doors had established chapters in over 20 countries, each adapting the program to meet local needs. From Tokyo to São Paulo, stories of transformation poured in, showcasing the program's far-reaching impact. A cafe owner in Sydney credited Open Doors with helping him hire a diverse staff, while a hotel chain in Dubai reported a significant increase in guest satisfaction after implementing inclusive training. For Maya, these successes weren't just milestones. They were reminders of why she kept pushing forward. Every challenge she faced, every doubter she silenced, brought her closer to realizing her dream. And though the road ahead remained long, she took solace in knowing that she wasn't walking it alone. Millions of people across the globe stood beside her, united by a shared vision of a brighter, fairer future. As the clock struck midnight on New Year's Eve, Maya stood on a balcony overlooking the glittering skyline of New York City. Fireworks lit up the sky, marking the start of a new chapter. Reflecting on everything she had accomplished and everything still left to do, she smiled softly. The journey had been arduous, but it had also been worth every step. For Maya Thompson, the fight for inclusivity was more than a mission. It was a lifelong promise to herself, to her community, and to the world. As Open Doors continued to grow globally, Maya Thompson found herself at the center of a movement that was reshaping industries and communities. Her relentless drive and unwavering commitment had turned a personal injustice into a worldwide call for change. But with success came new challenges, greater expectations, increased scrutiny, and the daunting task of sustaining momentum in an ever-changing world. One morning, as Maya sipped her coffee in her sunlit office, she received an email that made her heart race. It was from the CEO of Global Hospitality Group, GHG, one of the largest hotel chains in the world. The message read, "Dear Ms. Thompson, we've been following your work with Open Doors and are inspired by its impact. We would like to partner with you to implement inclusivity training across all our properties. Please let us know when we can discuss further." Maya stared at the screen, her mind racing with possibilities. A partnership with GHG could amplify Open Doors' reach exponentially, bringing its message to millions of employees and guests worldwide. Yet, she knew such a collaboration required careful consideration. Could GHG truly embrace inclusivity, or were they merely seeking good publicity? Determined to find out, Maya agreed to meet with their leadership team. The meeting took place in a sleek conference room at GHG's headquarters in Dubai. As Maya walked in, she was greeted by executives dressed in sharp suits, their expressions a mix of curiosity and admiration. After introductions, the CEO, Richard Langley, began the discussion. "Ms. Thompson," he said earnestly, "we're aware of the issues plaguing our industry: bias in hiring, unequal treatment of guests, lack of representation among leadership. We want to do better, but we need guidance. That's where you come." And Maya listened carefully, asking probing questions to gauge their sincerity. She shared examples of successful initiatives from other regions and emphasized the importance of long-term commitment. "This isn't about ticking boxes or issuing press releases," she explained. "It's about creating lasting change through action. If you're serious, I'm willing to help. But understand this: if we move forward, there will be no shortcuts." Richard nodded firmly. "We're ready to put in the work. Tell us what needs to be done." Over the next few months, Open Doors worked closely with GHG to revamp their policies and practices. They introduced mandatory diversity training for staff, updated recruitment processes to eliminate bias, and launched campaigns celebrating cultural diversity among guests. Feedback from employees and customers poured in, praising the changes and highlighting areas for improvement. Slowly but surely, GHG became a model for inclusivity in the hospitality sector. While working with GHG, Maya also expanded Open Doors into Africa, focusing on empowering women entrepreneurs. In Nairobi, she partnered with local organizations to host workshops teaching skills like financial literacy, marketing, and leadership. One participant, a single mother named Amina, shared how the program transformed her life. "Before Open Doors, I struggled to grow my business because banks wouldn't lend to me. she said during a panel discussion. But now, thanks to Maya's mentorship, I've secured funding and doubled my revenue. For the first time, I feel seen and valued. Stories like Amina's fueled Maya's determination to keep pushing boundaries. However, not everyone supported her efforts. Some critics accused her of prioritizing international expansion over addressing domestic issues. Others argued that Open Doors catered too much to corporations, losing sight of grassroots activism. Maya acknowledged these concerns, reminding herself that criticism often came from a place of care. She responded by redoubling her focus on marginalized communities, ensuring that Open Doors remained accessible to those who needed it most. Back home, Maya faced another challenge when a controversy erupted involving Bella Vita. A former employee claimed that Marco Rossi hadn't fully reformed the restaurant's culture, alleging instances of preferential treatment based on race. Though Marco denied the accusations, the allegations threatened to tarnish the progress he and Maya had worked so hard to achieve. Determined to address the issue head-on, Maya called an emergency meeting with Marco. "We can't ignore this," she told him firmly. "If even one person feels excluded or mistreated, it undermines everything we've built. You need to investigate thoroughly and take immediate corrective action." Marco agreed, launching an independent review of the restaurant's operations. The findings revealed lapses in oversight, prompting Marco to introduce stricter accountability measures. He held town hall meetings with staff, encouraging open dialogue and inviting feedback. Customers noticed the renewed commitment to inclusivity, reaffirming their trust in Bella Vita. Through it all, Maya leaned heavily on her support system, her family, friends, and colleagues at Technova Solutions. Her brother Marcus often reminded her to take breaks and prioritize self-care. "You're doing incredible work, sis," he'd say. "But don't forget, you're human too. You can't pour from an empty cup." Grateful for his advice, Maya made time for activities that brought her joy: painting, hiking, and cooking meals with loved ones. These moments of respite helped her recharge, enabling her to face each new challenge with fresh energy and perspective. By mid-year, Open Doors celebrated its second anniversary with a global summit in New York City. Attendees from over 50 countries gathered to share stories, exchange ideas, and chart the future of the movement. Keynote speakers included activists, business leaders, and everyday heroes whose lives had been touched by Open Doors. Among them was Jamal, the high school student who had once written to Maya expressing his dreams of entrepreneurship. Now a college freshman, Jamal delivered a stirring speech about overcoming adversity and finding inspiration in Maya's journey. "I used to think the world was against me," Jamal said, his voice filled with emotion. "But then I met Maya, and she showed me that change is possible if we refuse to give up. Today, I'm proud to say I'm starting my own tech company, a platform designed to connect underrepresented creators with opportunities. None of this would have been possible without her belief in me." The audience erupted into applause, moved by Jamal's transformation. For Maya, hearing his words reaffirmed her purpose. Every hardship she endured, every sacrifice she made, had led her to this moment, to a place where she could inspire others to dream bigger and fight harder. The summit concluded, Maya stood on stage gazing out at the sea of faces before her. 2 years ago, Open Doors was just an idea born out of pain and frustration, she began, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. Today, it's a global movement powered by hope and determination. Together, we've proven that no obstacle is insurmountable when we unite for a common cause. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. But let's not fool ourselves. This fight isn't over. Discrimination still exists in countless forms, hidden behind smiles and polite words. Our job is to keep shining a light on it, to keep pushing until every door opens wide for everyone. Her closing remarks earned a standing ovation, leaving many in tears. As attendees filed out of the auditorium, they carried with them a renewed sense of purpose. For some, it meant implementing inclusive practices in their businesses. For others, it meant speaking out against injustice in their communities. Whatever the path, Maya's message encouraged them to keep moving forward. In the weeks following the summit, Open Doors received unprecedented support. Donations poured in, allowing the organization to expand its reach even further. Schools adopted its curriculum, companies integrated its principles, and governments consulted its experts. Around the world, people rallied behind the movement, proving that unity could overcome division. Yet despite the accolades and achievements, Maya remained humble. She knew that true success wasn't measured by headlines or awards, but by the lives transformed along the way. And though the road ahead remained long, she took comfort in knowing she wasn't walking it alone. Millions of people stood beside her, united by a shared vision of a brighter, fairer future. As Maya looked toward the horizon, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. From a discriminatory encounter at a restaurant to a global movement for inclusivity, her journey had been nothing short of extraordinary. But more than anything, it was proof that even the smallest acts of courage could spark monumental change. As the years passed, Maya Thompson's impact on the world only deepened. Open Doors had grown from a small initiative into a global force for change, touching millions of lives across continents. Yet despite her monumental achievements, Maya remained grounded in her mission: to create a world where everyone felt seen, valued, and respected. For her, success wasn't about accolades or recognition. It was about the ripple effect of kindness and justice spreading far beyond what she could have imagined. One evening, as Maya sat in her home office surrounded by stacks of reports, emails, and handwritten notes, she received an unexpected call. It was from the Nobel Committee. At first, she thought it was a prank. After all, who would expect such a prestigious honor? But when the voice on the other end confirmed that she had been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, Maya's heart skipped a beat. The nomination was not just for her work with Open Doors, but for inspiring a generation to confront discrimination head-on. Though humbled, Maya refused to let the nomination distract her from her daily responsibilities. "This isn't about me," she told her team during their weekly meeting. "It's about every person who has stood up against injustice, spoken out when it was hard, and kept pushing even when they felt like giving up. If anything, this nomination reminds us how much further we still have to go." Her humility resonated deeply with those around her. Friends, colleagues, and strangers alike admired her ability to stay focused on the bigger picture rather than getting lost in personal glory. As news of the nomination spread, social media exploded with messages of support. Hashtags like #Maya for Nobel and Dr. Open Doors legacy trended globally, with people sharing stories of how her work had impacted their lives. Meanwhile, Open Doors continued to evolve, adapting to new challenges and opportunities. In Europe, the organization launched a campaign addressing Islamophobia, partnering with mosques and community centers to foster understanding between cultures. In Asia, they worked with tech companies to eliminate algorithmic biases in artificial intelligence systems, a nod to Maya's roots in the tech industry. Each project reflected her belief that inclusivity required constant innovation and collaboration. Back in the United States, Bella Vita became a symbol of redemption and progress. Under Marco Rossi's leadership, the restaurant introduced mentorship programs for young chefs from underrepresented backgrounds, providing them with training and career opportunities. Customers loved hearing these young talent stories, and many returned specifically to support the initiative. What had once been a source of shame for Marco was now a testament to his growth and to Maya's transformative influence. But Maya's journey wasn't without its struggles. As Open Doors expanded, so did the demands on her time and energy. There were days when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her, when criticism felt louder than praise, and when doubt crept into her mind. Yet she always found strength in the people around her, the friends who reminded her to rest, the mentees who looked up to her, and the countless individuals whose lives had been changed by her efforts. One particularly challenging moment came when a major corporation accused Open Doors of being too radical in its approach. They argued that some of the program's recommendations, like mandatory diversity quotas, were unrealistic and disruptive. While the accusation stung, Maya responded with grace and conviction. "Change is rarely comfortable," she said during a press conference. "But discomfort is necessary if we want to build a fairer, more equitable society. We're not here to maintain the status quo. We're here to challenge it. Her words struck a chord, silencing critics and rallying supporters. Within weeks, several high-profile companies reversed their stance, publicly endorsing Open Doors and committing to its principles. Once again, Maya proved that resilience and authenticity could overcome even the toughest opposition. As the Nobel Prize ceremony approached, anticipation reached a fever pitch. People from all walks of life tuned in to watch the event, eager to see whether Maya would take home the coveted award. When her name was announced as the winner, the room erupted into applause. Dressed in a stunning emerald gown, Maya walked onto the stage with quiet confidence, her eyes glistening with emotion. "Thank you," she began, her voice steady, yet filled with gratitude. "This honor doesn't belong to me alone. It belongs to every person who has ever fought for equality, dignity, and respect. To the activists risking their lives on the front lines, to the teachers shaping young minds, to the parents raising children to believe in fairness. I dedicate this prize to you." She paused, scanning the audience before continuing. "When I started Open Doors, I never dreamed it would grow into what it is today. I simply wanted to turn pain into purpose, to ensure that no one else would feel invisible or unworthy because of who they are. Along the way, I've learned that real change happens when we come together, when we refuse to let fear divide us." Her speech moved listeners to tears, sparking conversations about justice and inclusion worldwide. Social media buzzed with quotes from her address, while news outlets hailed her as a beacon of hope in turbulent times. For Maya, however, the true reward lay in the connections she'd forged and the lives she'd touched. In the months following the Nobel ceremony, Open Doors reached new heights. Governments adopted its frameworks, universities integrated its teachings, and grassroots movements sprang up in its name. Maya traveled extensively, speaking at conferences, mentoring young leaders, and launching initiatives tailored to emerging needs. Her calendar was packed, but she made time for moments of reflection, often journaling late at night about the lessons she'd learned. One entry read, "Success isn't about reaching the top. It's about lifting others as you climb. Every step forward is a reminder of why I started this journey, to prove that love is stronger than hate, that unity is greater than division, and that hope will always outlast despair." By the end of the year, Maya decided to take a brief sabbatical, a rare break from her relentless schedule. She retreated to a quiet cabin in the mountains surrounded by nature and solitude. There, she wrote a memoir titled Through Open Doors, chronicling her experiences, insights, and dreams for the future. The book became an instant bestseller, praised for its honesty and wisdom. Returning refreshed, Maya resumed her work with renewed vigor. She launched a new arm of Open Doors focused on climate justice, recognizing that environmental issues disproportionately affected marginalized communities. Collaborating with scientists, activists, and policymakers, she advocated for solutions that prioritized equity alongside sustainability. As Maya looked back on her journey, from the painful incident at Bella Vita to becoming a global icon for change, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Every challenge, every triumph had led her to this moment, a place where she could inspire others to dream bigger and fight harder. And though the road ahead remained long, she took solace in knowing she wasn't walking it alone. On a crisp autumn morning, Maya visited Bella Vita for the first time since the scandal. Invited by Marco as a guest of honor, she entered the restaurant to a warm welcome. Staff members greeted her with smiles, and patrons applauded as she walked through the doors. Near the entrance stood a plaque dedicated to her courage and leadership, a permanent reminder of the transformation she had sparked. During a heartfelt speech, Maya expressed gratitude for the progress they had made together. "Today I'm proud to stand here not as someone wronged, but as someone who believes in second chances, for individuals and institutions alike. Together, we've shown that accountability and forgiveness can pave the way for a brighter future." Her words resonated deeply, leaving a lasting impact on everyone present. That night, Bella Vita wasn't just a restaurant anymore. It was a testament to the power of resilience, redemption, and collective effort toward a better world. And for Maya, it marked the beginning of a new chapter, one defined by hope, purpose, and unwavering determination to make the impossible possible.